About 3 months later, Mita's spirit was back for bloody revenge, and with vengeance it petrified the entire village. The spirit had to be tamed as it was getting powerful by the day. Please dim your lights. Subscribe, share and like. India's own Bloody Mary, Part 2. Yes, Mita's spirit was back for bloody revenge, and within a short period of her return, it petrified households in the entire village. Whoever looked into the mirror would receive deep scars on their faces. Its rage became more intense as the days passed by. A tantric, that is, an occultist in the village, had predicted that unless weakened, the spirit would become powerful every day, and it had to be tamed. Otherwise, it would go out of control, and the whole village could face devastation. The villagers tried every way from rituals to yajna, that is sacrifice, to rein in the spirit, but nothing seemed to be working. It had become so powerful that it would harm people even during the day, and with vengeance. There were growing incidents of the spirit gouging out the eyes of several villagers, but no one had died so far. During this time also, Mita's sisters Asha and Lata had, along with their husbands, come to meet their father, Jingru. A celebration was lined up in the family. The naming ceremony of Asha's son. Relatives, friends and some families residing in the village and adjoining areas flocked to the ceremony. The apparent grand event was mainly because it was a boy. The baby boy was named Anuj amid the celebrations. The women at the ceremony were taking turns to cuddle the baby. A lady by the name Kalki grabbed the infant, cuddled it affectionately and started moving around. She walked with the baby everywhere and then went to the bedroom. While running around in the bedroom, a sari, by mistake, pulled down the cloth that covered the mirror. Curious, she gave a cursory look at the mirror. Kalki seemed to be attracted towards it, and as she went closer, a ghastly figure with deep scars on its cheeks came towards her from the mirror and stabbed her on her cheeks with a broken glass several times and then gouged out her left eye. Screaming, Kalki dropped the baby and fell on the ground. Others ran into the room to see what happened. As the village head, men and women along with Jingru, Asha and Lata entered the room, a blood-filled hand came out of the mirror and attacked them, leading to several deep scars on the face, and some eyes were even gouged out. Jingru, Lata and her husband's eyes were gouged out as it went towards them and stabbed them in their stomach with the broken glass. Jingru, Lata and her husband met with a macabre death instantly, but to everyone's surprise, Asha, her husband, and her child were spared. With folded hands, Asha and her husband got up, and as the spirit disappeared into the mirror, Asha's husband took the cloth and put it around the mirror. There were at least 15 others in the room who received deep cuts in their faces, and some eyes were even gouged out. A few villagers who were at the event ran and called people in the neighborhood for help. The grievously injured had to be taken to hospital in ambulances coming in from state headquarters, Alwar. There was some grim news a couple of days later, as 2 of those injured during the ceremony had died. The whole village stood still for days. Everyone was in a state of shock. It was time for an immediate remedy, but the villagers were clueless on what was needed to be done to tame the spirit. In the meantime, Mita's husband, Rakesh, and his parents knew that their days were numbered unless they left the village immediately. Without wasting a moment, Rakesh and his parents left the village in an SUV the next morning. They packed several suitcases and carried adequate food as well as water in a small drum, which was kept at the rear portion of the vehicle. As they were on their way to Rakesh's uncle's house in Jaipur, which is a 5-hour drive, Rakesh and his parents heaved a sigh of relief. At last we are safe, said Rakesh, as the SUV left the village. For an hour, the drive was smooth, and then they had to cross a mountainous region. During an incline on the road, a tree suddenly fell in front of them. The driver lost control and the vehicle hit a rock. Luckily, no one was injured, but the water drum fell and rolled down the hill. After minor repairs, the driver could start the vehicle and reach the plains soon. He stopped the vehicle in the arid plains and managed to locate a well, which was half full of water, and there was even a bucket inside hanging from a rope. After all, Rakesh's parents felt very thirsty, and there were no shops nearby. As Rakesh went to fetch water for his parents and himself, he saw the woman with blood and scars on her face emerge from the well. He realized it was Mita and tried to run. But the spirit swiftly gouged out both his eyes and twisted his head, severed it, and sent it rolling down the road. Seeing this, Rakesh's mother fainted, and his father ran towards Rakesh and held his headless son as blood oozed out of the neck. The driver was aghast by the horrendous incident. Mita was back and had taken bloody revenge to her full satisfaction. Meanwhile, several days had passed and the villagers realized that they were out of harm's way from the mirrors. So they started uncovering their mirrors and life was limping back to normal. All the young women in the village could deck up and see their beautiful faces again.